Well, hello, and welcome to Waffle-Free Storytelling. It's Tina Konstant here. I am so glad you could join me. As always, the waffle is right at the end or down in the show notes. So we're jumping right into this story, which is called Berry Clara. The story is about Orem Grimshaw. Now, Orem liked to plan everything. His day, his week, his month, his year. He liked to plan his own stuff, but he also liked to plan, as far as possible, everyone around him, which included his long-suffering wife and his mother-in-law, Clara. The reason why he liked to manage and control Clara, or try, is because she owned a piece of land that Orem Grimshaw wanted. This land went down the valley, over the hill, and wrapped right around the village. What was most frustrating for Orem was that Clara let people farm her land with no regard for schedule and planning and structure and payment. Now, he knew that Clara would not let go of that land willingly. So the only way he was going to get it was if she died, her daughter would inherit, and then Orem could get his mitts on it. Which is why, in his plan every year, Orem Grimshaw had an item that read, Berry Clara. But every year he could never tick that item off, because every year the old woman got stronger and fitter and happier. Come on! Then, one year when Orem thought he was just going to pretty much quit, he read a book on how to get things done. And that's when he realized his mistake. He had never put a date on when he was going to bury Clara. He was doing his annual plan that very day, the 1st of January. He thought a bit, he pondered a bit, and then he said, by the 31st of January, I am going to tick off the item, bury Clara. He got to work immediately. That night, he put on his boots, he put on his jacket, he put on his hat, he picked up his toolbox, and in the dead of midnight, he tramped through the snow and he snuck right up to Clara's house. Keeping as quiet as he could, he wiped the snow from her top step leading to her front door, and he sprayed a thin sheen of water over the step. Then he watched it freeze to black ice. He had a quiet little chuckle. She would come out the house in the morning. She would open the door. She would step on the step. She would slip. She would crack her head, and that would be it. He would tick that item off the list and get his hands on her land. Feeling a bit of frostbite on his fingers and toes, he trudged all the way home again. The next morning, he was infuriated to hear Clara chuckling and chatting and talking to his wife, her daughter, coming up his path. Oh, she said, I couldn't believe it. Barry the baker came to my house this morning as usual. He had all of my bread. He knocked on my door. He stepped on my top step. What happened? He slipped. He fell. He broke an arm. He cracked his head. The doctor said if that had been me, I might not have survived. Well, Orem Grimshaw listened to this. Okay, he said, strike one. Next night, he packed his toolbox, he put on his boots, he picked up his jacket, and he trudged through the snow. He went all the way to Clara's house. This time, he picked up his spanners, and he loosened every nut and every bolt on the gas tank leading to her oven. The plan was simple. In the morning, she would come down to make her morning tea. She would light the stove, and boom! No one would survive that. Coughing a bit, he trudged home again. and he waited for the news. Well, the next morning there was talk of a fire, but it was Clara doing the talking. "Ooh," she said, "there I was. I went downstairs to make my cup of tea, switched on the oven, and no gas." The engineer came around and said, "Clara, spent 3 days in town. I will fix it. When you come home, it'll all be done." For a minute, Orm was frustrated and furious, and then he thought, no, this is a good thing. He encouraged his wife to go and stay in the town with his mother-in-law, which he knew would give him 3 days to do everything he needed to completely destroy Clara's home. What Orm didn't know was that he was being watched. He wasn't being watched by anyone in the town. He wasn't being watched by anybody on the hilltop. He wasn't being watched by anybody in the next town. It was 3 valleys away, up on the 4th hilltop. There was an oracle who sat in her cottage, and she watched Orm Grimshaw. She had a little chuckle when he trudged through the snow with all of his tools and all of his kit, went into Clara's house and chipped every brick, splintered every beam, undid every screw and every single nail, until the house was so frail that even if a sparrow landed on the roof, it would collapse on Clara's head. Then the oracle had an even bigger giggle when Orm packed up his toolbox. He stepped out towards the house, he opened the front door, and he stepped on the front step leading into the house. And then the oracle fell off her chair laughing when Orm slipped on that step, the one he had iced just 3 days earlier, and to stop himself from falling, he grabbed the door frame. Now Orm weighed a little more than a sparrow, and in a moment, the house collapsed on Orm Grimshaw's head. Well, the oracle put on her kettle, and she cut herself an extra large slice of apple pie. And then she went and she pulled out her to-do list. And she picked up a big old pencil. And she flipped through the page until she came to the item, "Bury Orm Grimshaw." And she put a big old tick on that thing to do, saying, "Isn't it nice when things get done according to plan?" Then she did flip through the rest of her things to do. Bury Clara was there, but it wasn't due to happen for a long time. There you go, folks. That's it. Watch Karma. She can be mean. And sometimes other people's plans are just bigger than ours. So we've got to watch out for that too. Oh my goodness. Have a beautiful day. Have a splendid day. Go and hug the people you love. Drop around to www.tinakonstant.com for the podcast, the Waffle-Free Stories for Kids, the shop, the books, and all of the shenanigans that happens in Waffle-Free. But in the meantime, have a beautiful, perfect day. And subscribe to the channel, ring the little bell, so that you know when new stories are added. All right, have a glorious time, and I will see you in the next wild tale from the universe. Okay, bye-bye now.